Apparently we are live, so
Excellent. Someone's seen us.
big bang intro.
Always makes me jump every time I see that. Welcome, everybody. Lee and I are from Sand Digital, and we have, I think, a lovely little story to tell, a story of adventure, a story of a great deal of frustration and head scratching, and a story that is absolutely of the moment because GPT, which neither of us can say properly, and it seems to induce a sort of verbal dyslexia, has been, clearly in the news, and we have been playing around with it, and particularly, like a good engineer likes to do, trying to break it by detecting whether it's really such a good cheat or not. Lee, what gave you the idea?
Well, because I like breaking things, I guess. Well, you were on LinkedIn, you saw all the hype. I even saw Ryan Reynolds on Facebook, from all people, promoting ChatGPT and saying how great it was and the huge hype cycle surrounding it. And I think that the headlines that were grabbing my attention were oh, it's going to take our jobs. Oh, you're not going to be able to pass degrees, all this kind of stuff. Everyone's fear mongering, fueling all of that hype. So I wanted to kind of take a step back and just think, well, what is it actually producing? Is it valuable what it's producing? Could we detect that ChatGTP is GPT is outputting something that's not been edited or curated by humans? So yes, we had a go at it. Obviously, Rob, you saw attempt number one, which was not too terrible.
It fully affirmed that I'm human, and I was grateful for that. Some of the other pieces of text was got me thinking, what would be a piece of text that is classically human, but what's a piece of text that, could confuse it? And so I sourced and got Chat GPT to create all sorts of different text and threw it at it. And yeah, there were some difficult ones. I can't remember the first one that threw you. Was it the Sun and the Daily Mirror?
Yeah, there were a few. So my original approach, and when I say me, I mean me and a couple of other people from Sand Digital that helped me along the way. I'm just here taking all the glory for it. So my original approach was to look at different large language models like GPT-2 and a few others, and calculate something called perplexity. So perplexity is how difficult it is for the AI chatbot, whatever you want to call it, to figure out what the next word is. So if you've got a bunch of text, how difficult it is for it to get the next word right in that text. It's quite a complicated thing because different language models have different vocabulary sizes. But if we take a simple example of, say, there's one that just has 3 words, it has dog, cat, fish, and they can only appear in that order. And if you passed it to a language model to calculate its perplexity, it would very easily get each word one after the other. If you had, a huge, large vocabulary, it'd be much more difficult to guess that. So my original thinking was we can detect things that are plagiarized using ChatGPT by simply calculating the perplexity of other similar models. Obviously, ChatGPT's model is closed and we don't have access to that. And if it's low, then it's obviously a bot. Turns out not that simple. But it was a good go as a first attempt. And I think there's a few other people around that time that were also trying very, very similar things.
Yeah. And oddly enough, of course, writers, and one of my roles is a content designer, deciding what the next word is going to be is quite a struggle as well. Just in a little parallel process. And there are some things that you write about that are so narrow and so restricted. So one of the things I did was I got Chat GTP to write a set of instructions about how to fix the most common problems in a Hoover. And I don't honestly think a writer would have been able to write with, unless you say do it in the style of a romantic poet or something, would have come up with something terribly different. That it is just a very small plane that you have to work with in that place.
So when I was looking at ChatGPT's output, I keep saying ChatGPT, but I do mean various other models as well. They are all quite similar. There are several different characteristics. So when it is explaining something, it always takes the same form of its answer and structures its sentences in a very similar way. Um, Even if should be a short answer and a human would answer something quite quickly, it will still go to that long, detailed answer because that's kind of how it's been trained to work. The other thing is, yeah, you mentioned the Hoover manual. A human would probably put different punctuation in, even if it's trying not to put emotion in than the chatbot would. So I feel like there's always a way that it can be detected. But yeah, emotion is one, and bias. So the chatbot is always trying not to show any emotion whatsoever because that's how it's been trained. So that's an easy way that you can detect things as well. So should we tell people how we actually manage to fix it as well and make
Yeah.
it's actually kind of working? So I confused myself for a little bit by using a Reddit data source and then comparing the perplexity of Reddit against the input text. So I thought, okay, so that means that it's a bot. That's not really meaning that it's a bot. It means it's like people on Reddit.
Right.
So,
A narrow, restricted.
having tried to sleep on that for a little bit, I thought, how about we take some Q&A from Wikipedia? So there's an open source Wikipedia Q&A data set. I think it had about 10,000 entries or something in. And we get somebody to manually type all those into Chat GPT. We created a little Chrome extension that went through and typed it all in for us. And then we compare the results. So then we've got a bunch of Q&A, which are curated by various different authors on Wikipedia, and then also a bunch which have been all generated by the same chatbot. If we do that alongside our perplexity generation and analysis of things like GPT, GPT-2, we can together figure out whether it probably is a bot or not. So we can run that over the entire paragraph, or we can do it sentence by sentence. So the tool's not perfect. It could do with a lot of work. If there's a real use case to do something like in a medical context or a legal context, we could do something there. However, it kind of works, and it's not bad, is it, Rob?
Well, as I said, we've tested it in comparison to OpenAI's text classifier or whatever unromantic name they've come up with, and it's done better in almost all cases. One most amusingly, I gave you some lyrics from Yes, a progressive rock band from the 1970s, and you instantly recognized it as human, whereas OpenAI thinks it was partially written by artificial intelligence, which, considering it was recorded in 1972, is quite an achievement.
Well, you never know, Rob. So
Never.
yeah, OpenAI. I'm dubious as to why they've released their classifier tool in the way that they have. So I remember reading an article in the Guardian in the morning. It was released where they said, "Oh, and it's only 20 something percent accurate." Like, well, why are they boasting about that? It's almost like they don't want the output to be detected.
And their scoring system is very vague. Unlikely, unclear, likely to be, possibly. They're all, weasel words all the way through. It never actually says yes.
Yeah, we're quite bold in our in our answers, aren't we, Rob? Hopefully they're right most of the time. We should probably
And,
stick some weasel words in there.
yeah. And I mean, I know that you've appreciated how tricky writing is. How many different styles of writing, formal and informal, and poetic and professional and fiction, and how many jargon expertise frameworks there are, and how many different audiences, and how many different kinds of words, archaic and obtuse and sweary and all the rest. And all of this is all put together in the thing that we call writing. And, it's a big challenge. And so I guess it's an advantage for you that the AI writers stick to quite a narrow style of writing unless you deliberately put something into the prompt.
Yeah, so when it comes to the cheating, and people adding, plagiarizing text, just like in the early days of the internet, where people would Google something, rip off, a few paragraphs of text from a web page. Um, this isn't any different. So plagiarism software at universities has existed for years, that detects things like that, already. So, in my opinion, this is still as easy to detect as that. We did a little experiment. Someone on LinkedIn wrote a comment saying, "Well, what if we generate some output from the tool and we run it through something called Quillbot to humanize the text? Then what happens?" So we tried it. We asked ChatGPT what Quillbot is. It wrote a few paragraphs. We passed it through Quillbot, and it came out 100% bot. So the way that I kind of think, the tool should be used in the future is, it's an ideas generator. It's the same as Googling for things and doing your research. If you don't really understand the subject matter or what you're writing about, then you can't modify it or make it your own anyway. So in fact, the tool's useless to anybody that doesn't do their research or doesn't understand,
Yeah.
what they're doing. Your input is the only valuable bit at that point. What question you're asking, which is, to be honest, an art form in itself. How do you Google for things is something that people have learned to do over time. It's very similar to this. It's like, what is your input text? What is your prompt?
Yeah, certainly we've seen the hallucinations, as they are euphemistically described, or getting things epically wrong, costing Google an arm and a leg. Um, and you're right, being able to think critically and assess what the AI writer has given you is actually a key set, because otherwise you'll be set completely down the wrong route. And so for me, certainly, it looks like it's a blended activity, that you can use these as a helpful tool to get you started, or to generate ideas, or to generate counter ideas, but you are a crucial element in this. And to go back to what you said earlier about, the doomsters going, oh, we're all going to lose our jobs, it's all, no, I don't think so. Not unless it actually becomes intelligent, because of course, even though it has the I word in its name, it's not intelligent and it doesn't know what it's writing.
Yeah. Someone said to me, could we make a chatbot tool that looks in our internal, like Confluence? It's a repository of everybody's skills and various different articles. It's where content goes to die, actually. But can we write a chatbot that says, does certain person X have skill Y? And yeah, you could do that. But also they said, and can we reference the source material? It's like, no, that's a search. That's a completely different thing. So yeah, there's definitely some future enhancements that can be made between search and generated text. I think if they can converge in a smart and clever way, which probably Google will do, and you're able to have a trusted reference source to the text, as opposed to just saying, oh, well, you know what, this is a potential good author name, and this is a potential reputable website that could have written about this. Let's just write that down as a reference. That's a very different thing.
Very different thing. So throughout this project, you've kindly shielded me from any explanation, because I'm a designer and I know nothing of Python, but which has led me into the position of feeling like Dorothy going down the yellow brick road, and there you are as the Wizard of Oz with your great screen of magic, the black box. So what actually is in the black box? How do you do the magic?
So it is as simple as taking questions from Wikipedia that people have typed in, and then passing all those same questions through ChatGPT, and comparing the output. And then when we do that per sentence and also per paragraph, and we get various different confidence scores. It's not a perfect way to do it, obviously, and there's only about 10,000 entries there, so it will break. I think you found a good good couple of examples of writing that broke it.
Yes, oddly, it was long form writing, which was a surprise, because usually they say, you have to do what, 500 words or something, and anything shorter is too difficult to tell. And I was feeding it 10,000 word essays on Putin's ideas about imperial Russia and romanticizing medieval Russian stuff to use in his weird political philosophy. I mean, just the normal sorts of things I personally read. And
I know
yeah,
I read as well, Rob. Thank you for that.
and it proved very difficult.
Yeah. It's only because of the source material. If we had a bigger data set, we probably could have detected that. It isn't the only thing that we do, though. So we do still look at the perplexity of models such as GPT-2. There are other things that we could do in future. There's a Facebook model that seems to very easily detect the writing styles of the Daily Mirror, the Sun, and other newspapers, which is interesting. And I think that we might explore that a little more in the future as well.
Well, I mean, if I was the tabloid newspaper and I was writing an unimportant story, just from Reuters and stuff, but needed to rewrite it, the one of these AI writers is ideal. Like, why get an expensive journalist disturbed from being down the pub? Other journalists are available. It was also interesting for me that you kept on at it. You didn't lose hope, because there were certain times when I broke it again, or your clever fix didn't fix it.
Rob, you know me. I revel in it when you break something. Well, yeah, so data science is not really my strong point in any way, shape, or form. I'm a broad engineer, but it's not a specialism of mine. And I feel like it can never really be perfect, which is a little frustrating to me as an engineer, because I like to have that QED double underline underneath it. But it was it was a learning curve, and I think an important one for me to understand a little bit more about how data science works, just as a generalist. So yeah, I enjoyed that. I also did enjoy you breaking it, and I do like one of the tools that a member of the team made as well. So they took all of your input texts and your results and automated it as well, so that we could basically have a live dashboard which said that this little tweak has made it worse, or this little tweak has made it better, which was super useful. So yeah,
Nice.
lots of good little things that came out of that.
And is this the start of an arms race? Is the AI writer going to get more human, whatever that means, or more able to disguise itself? And are the detection tools going to have to work even harder?
Can I just say yes? Well, I mean, the amount of money being pumped into it is ludicrous. So it will advance. The direction in which it advances, I'm not sure. There's the whole ethical angle. They try to drill ethics into various chatbots so that it's always on the fence. I did read something where it said if there was a bomb that was about to kill 1 million people and it required you to say a racial slur, would you recommend that we say it? And it says no. So because it can't say yes, say that thing. So yeah, ethics within AI is a whole other angle that needs to be investigated. And yeah, facts and being able to back up facts. That's what's crucial. Until it's nailed that on and come up with reference and sources, then it's not really that worthwhile. It's just a tool to kind of help with ideas.
Yeah, it does need to actually be able to source where it's getting stuff from properly to be really trustworthy, because without that trust, it may, balloon in, as a fancy tool and then fall away at some point. Okay.
I actually think that the future is less in text generation and less in video and image and music generation. It's in computational excellence and what can we do to advance medicine and other things like that. I think that's probably the better use of time and money. But save that for another day, shall we?
Yeah. For now, thanks very much for watching. Please have a little play yourself. If you break it, please tell us. We'll be fascinated to see what text you used. And if you're using it for any purpose, we've seen a couple already, then that would be really, really interesting. And we're hoping to build it into Word.
Oh yeah, so a member of the team has been working on some Office add-ins recently, so we're going to build a little Office add-in and open source it as well. So if anybody wants that, hopefully we'll be getting around to that end of this week, and should be able to update you next week.
Yeah. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to our experience with this fascinating tool. It hasn't cost us $160 billion. It's just cost us a fair bit of time and a great deal of amusement. So thank you and goodbye.
Thanks, everyone.